Oh my goodness. Everything looks a little wild. Um, it's been a minute, but not too long, I guess. So, this particular video is talking about vices in the spiritual realm. I saw this one reel where this person was talking about another person that they knew that experimented with drugs, and because of this, they were illegally accessing the spiritual realm. And so that's just something that I wanted to talk about because it really made me think as somebody who's on a spiritual journey. Um, yeah, there was a time where I wouldn't I wouldn't say indulging in vices, if that makes sense. But maybe in terms of vices, there's an arc, in the beginning where it's fun, it's new, um, you have that thrill or high. And then I guess there's a plateau, and then there's the downward end where things become toxic. And I think the thing for me was recognizing that something had become toxic or escapist, but I guess a part of me being in denial in the sense of having witnessed addiction. So then it's like, what does that look like for you? Because sometimes you think, oh, it's not a problem because I'm not addicted. I can stop it at any time, or I'm not doing it that much, or I'm doing things in a certain context. And I remember for me, I guess it was slowly losing integrity, I guess. I had certain morals and values and things that I wanted to stick to. Um, there was a time where I was more, I wouldn't say connected with God per se, but maybe more just involved in that world. Um, everybody in my family is Catholic, um, but my mom, or my parents, I should say, never baptized me. I think their thing was you'll find your way to God, and so I've always kind of been on a journey. But when I was a kid, um, there were these Baptists, and I remember them saying, like, "Do you accept the Lord Jesus Christ as your Savior? Do you will you let Him into your heart?" And then just them explaining that basically when you do that, that Jesus died for your sins. When you accept Him into your heart as your Lord and Savior, um, when you sin, if you're truly repentant, that you'll be forgiven. And I remember like going to what do you call it? Sunday school, or another one was Vacation Bible School, and you just hear the different stories. And I can't remember who it was specifically that was free of sin, but I would pray to be free of sin. But of course, like, how long from being out of the womb have you sinned? So already then and there, that's done. Um, and then just hearing different stories, I guess, like just wanting to be like virtuous enough to be used as an instrument of God. But I never really thought of what that entailed. I think I was thinking of only like the things that are seen as noble, like the Virgin Mary or Noah, like these people who have big assignments. But then you don't think of the people who have the burden of, I guess, negative consequences that impact man. Because are those people still tools of God? If that makes sense. Like if God has a plan for you, how do you know that your negative actions aren't supposed to set something into course, right? Like, for example, how do you know that you're not the facilitator of somebody's karma? Or or in the sense of, like, as we've explored with Genesis so far, and say the story of Cain and Abel, where because of Cain's sin, somebody else who executes his karma is therefore going to be cursed. Uh, when God says, when Cain says, "Oh, this punishment is too much. Whoever encounters me is surely going to bring me harm." And God says, "Whoever punishes you, I will punish them tenfold." So, like, how do you know if you're not a negative instrument? Um, but yeah, I remember like purity for me was a really big one. Like, what would it mean? It wasn't so much like giving birth to Jesus, you know, but I guess maybe I didn't really understand conceptually like what, like, because what does it mean for God to love you? Is there a special love God would have for you if you were God's family, like God's wife, or, you know, because when you think of the Virgin Mary, like, what does that mean? If she literally gives birth to God's baby, like, what does that mean? Right. So, um, so when I was young, I used to think like I used to think like my body is a temple. Like, what would it mean to honor it? And it's weird how I strayed from like things I used to think about and pray for, you know. I think maybe because of trauma, like if you think of your body as something sacred, as a temple, if you think of what it means to love yourself, the soul and the vessel, and to share that with the world, and then to have people just violate you, you know, um, when you think about violations of the flesh, and how it can pierce the soul, I guess. I don't know. Like, not in the literal sense, but sometimes I think that, like, like I think of myself in layers, like the guardian, the guardian of the temple, right? I think I just left. There's this one scene in Greek mythology, um, where I can't remember who it was. I think it was Zeus who um, essayed one of the guardians in Athena's temple, but Athena punished the guardian as opposed to Zeus. But maybe it was like her punishing herself because of sometimes the hatred is not the right word, but like that self-loathing you feel and not being able to protect yourself. Which is weird because you think of Athena as a god. You would expect her to have more empathy, more understanding, more compassion, even if she didn't have the ability to protect you. But I can see how you would turn against God because it's like you're let down on multiple fronts. So I guess in that analogy, if you think about it in the Christian sense, I guess it would be like being assaulted by man or the God of man, and then the feminine turning on you. If that makes sense. I don't know. Sorry. But I feel like that happens a lot with women. Like, I feel like there's a lack of empathy. Well, maybe it's not even a lack of empathy. I think it's because of how we treat ourselves, that sometimes we don't have the capacity to care for others, or for some things to be sacred or off limits. Like, um like currently right now I'm in a situation where um my trauma has been weaponized, which can be really unsettling. It was interesting because I saw this other reel with Jordan Peterson, and he was saying that part of the reason why people experience PTSD is not because they were hurt, but because they encountered somebody who wanted to hurt them. And sometimes I think about that, and again, it's probably going to be a running theme, but the devil is an angel at the end of the day. So I always think that people have the capacity to have both sides. Like, what if in theory we're fallen angels? What does that mean? And even if we're not, right? God's design has the capacity to turn against him. So you never know when you're being confronted with Lucifer or whether you're being confronted by Satan. And understanding this, I also know that I have the capacity to be evil. I think part of the reason why I play devil's advocate a lot is because I understand this. So, again, beating myself up because I want to judge how I want to be judged, if that makes sense. Because regardless of what people say, everybody judges, right? Well, what does that look like? And that I think that's why I never wanted to be a lawyer or a judge or anything like that. Because the whole point isn't necessarily about right or wrong. It's about doing a job. Like I remember being in junior high and learning about debate for the first time. And when you have to argue the opposition, I mean, it's important so that you gain perspective. But for me, I think the thing that I would struggle with is the cognitive dissonance of defending somebody who is wrong. Who's it's not even so much about being wrong, but when there needs to be punishment, when there needs to be justice, like to to facilitate growth, or to facilitate change, or when somebody has no empathy, has no remorse, hasn't learned from the experience, or understanding the nuance of when does somebody need a chance? When has somebody had too many chances? Like, I don't know. I personally just wouldn't want to be in that position. But I've also noticed that lawyers tend to have a certain personality type. There's just being out in the world more. You like when when you have to do that psych test where it's like INJ whatever, whether you're an introvert and blah blah blah. You can kind of see it. Like certain professions, certain personality types definitely gravitate towards that. Um, but the point, the point in this, I guess, is, I guess, leaving the temple. What did that look like? Because it wasn't for me. It's never just get up and go. I really, I really wish it was. For me, it usually takes a lot of time, a lot of thinking. And I don't know, like just describing that experience, it's like if I think of the person that I was, I was building, that I envisioned myself to be, like if I think of it as like artwork, I'm trying to think of like the point where I stepped out of that space. because I knew I was unhappy. But I think for me, the biggest thing is opportunity cost. Like, what's out there has it has to provide more value in some way for me to leave. But then on the other hand, I feel like there were times where I was being drawn out. But drawn out by what? Like when I think about life. Like in a previous video, we were having a discussion about worldly music, and I think about music and what it's meant in my life, like being so annoyed having to listen to my parents' cultural music and not understanding what was going on. So I guess in that sense, it taught me to feel the music, um, because I didn't understand it. And then I remember my uncle buying me my first Walkman, and he is really big into classical music. And so, yeah, I remember telling him, like, oh, like I learned how to play Ode to Joy on the recorder. And so then he got really excited, and then we watched, I think it's Amadeus, and then he just bought me a bunch of cassettes with classical music. And it's weird because I haven't listened to classical music for a while. Um, I think, yeah, I've only really listened to it and like interpolated into modern music or like scores of movies. But does that even count as classical? Um, but yeah, but I know that I've found refuge in in the arts. Like, it's weird though because I don't know, not having well, one parent in particular wasn't particularly supportive about of the arts at all. So I guess I pulled away from it. But it's kind of sad because sometimes it's like I can't see, and then sometimes it's like like I can't see, I can only just feel. And then sometimes I can see, but I can't get it out. Like it won't translate. It's the most frustrating feeling when you have like this vision and you just don't have the capacity to execute it because it's too big. It's too big, but you can't see how to break it down into parts. But yeah, but I mean that was art in terms of like drawing or coloring. I'm enjoying painting. I'm not particularly well, I'm not horrible, but I think a part of me also gets easily defeated. Well, not necessarily defeated, but I don't know. Sometimes I encounter artists and I mean, it has nothing to do with them, everything to do with me, but it's like I'm in such awe that I don't even want to I don't even want to try because it's like I don't even understand how you see. Like I remember just watching this one girl and her art was like how are you seeing colors that are not that are not there? Like I don't know I don't know how to explain it. Like okay, like you see this, right? You take this cup. Like me, I would literally I would just make it blue. Like different shades of blue. Like I maybe see like maybe six different shades of blue. But her, if she was to paint it, like she would have like reds and greens and like and you think like that is so unnatural, but it looks so real. It's like what are you seeing? And I remember my English teacher, she'd say the best artists are blind. Like in terms of I guess the visual arts. But like musicians, the best musicians are deaf. And then I remember in an interview Kanye West saying he has synesthesia and I'm thinking that makes so much sense because some of the songs just the production like I don't know. That's why I'm like when they say don't listen to worldly music because I think about there's some things where it's literally kept me alive, you know? Like um like Linkin Park Numb. Probably like one of my favorite songs easily. Um but it's not just the lyrics. It's not just connecting to the lyrics. It's like capturing the feeling, like the torture, the agony, the like picture a pop bottle and you shake it and you just want to but you can't. So like you feel yourself like imploding because you have to settle because it has nowhere to go. Yeah. Or like sometimes I think like time is not linear. Like sometimes we're moving backwards and forwards. And I don't know how to explain it because I'm a person who lives in the past a lot lately. When I was younger, I would dream and dream and dream. But there's some songs where it's like, I needed it, I felt it, but I didn't understand it until it happened. Like, there was a time where I was like, I was really struggling. I was really struggling with a vice, and I'd gone back to it because it was the only way I could hear God. And it's like, God was basically saying, like, Can't you feel me carrying you? But it's like I'm not pulling my weight, but on the same note, I needed to know that they were there. But I can't do it anymore because it's like even if I want to, it's like the door is slammed. It's not just that, it's like, what are you doing? Kind of energy, and then so I just have to go with the flow. But it's weird though, because I think of the idea of God carrying me, but I've gotten heavy. And the thing is, before I was light, but I guess I wasn't as grounded. So that makes sense. Just a reflection of the state of mind, I guess. But I guess I feel like really weighed down, bogged down. I don't know. I don't know. It was like, it was a really weird period because to an extent, I've I've always lived with depression and anxiety, and people say it's because you're you're living in the future and the past, and you need to be more present. But I feel like it's usually escaping on both ends because the present is so volatile. It's like very overwhelming or overstimulating. I, more so when I was younger and didn't have as much control. But yeah, no, but getting into my adult life, I guess I'm trying to get to the point where it's like remembering what natural highs feel like. I don't know. I remember I say like a lot. I remember going out and I could have a good time without drinking. In fact, I didn't want to drink because I didn't care for the taste of alcohol. And but I think I think when you go to college and everybody around you, you see what it's like to be intoxicated and uninhibited, and then you get into that sphere. I guess I don't know. I don't know because like the human mind is so delicate but malleable. And I remember getting on birth control, and that was the first time I consciously heard the devil. Like, I'm not saying quit your birth control, or that's not what I'm saying. Something in it just didn't agree with me. But talking to other people online, it seems like I'm not the only one. Um, Maybe if I read the a billion side effects, probably it's probably on the list. But I don't think I heard the devil until much later on. And sometimes I think, like, how many flags did I ignore? I really should have gotten a different cup. Um, because yeah, whether it was people in general, whether it was situations, whether it was friendships that turned into lessons, whether it was life choices, it was really hard to grasp because I was very particular about doing things right. And sometimes I'm the kind of person who can be halted. That's not the right word. But sometimes I can't start because I can't do it perfectly, which is frustrating. Because I think right now at this point, it looks like I'm just throwing stuff at a wall to see what sticks. But I don't know. It's hard. It's hard, you know. But I think I think I think being intoxicated and being sober, like, both can be unsettling because when you're intoxicated, you're impaired. So making rational decisions is very hard. But then you also have to have a lot of faith in your environment. I wouldn't even say faith. That's not the right word. It is a very dangerous game. Then sometimes being sober is you can't always see the whole board. Like if you think of it like chess, like you can anticipate, but at the end of the day, you're still vulnerable to to the way the environment changes. So it can be really unsettling when you make mistakes and you can't go back, or you make mistakes and you're angry because you didn't foresee what is glaringly obvious in hindsight, or even worse if you've been warned, but it was a situation where you trusted your judgment more than counsel. But what does this have to do with vices again? It's hard because when you start this, it's like you have to come up with a title and a theme, but sometimes it goes in a different direction. I don't know. Key point: don't do drugs, and if you do, don't become dependent, which is easier said than done. And if you do, what can I say? Because there's a lot of things where, like, for example, me right now, as I am struggling with my weight. Seems like no matter how hard I try, I just keep gaining weight. And it's really weird because I haven't struggled with my weight in a long time. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. The thing about making yourself vulnerable is that you are vulnerable and it leaves you open to attack. So using discretion on what and when to share, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It's just that particular reel had me thinking. Because even after encountering God, or I can't tell you what it was, but it was not of this world. Like, that's the thing. I'm agnostic. So then I have to figure out what it is. Well, I don't have to. In fact, I would prefer not to. But it feels like I have to. It feels like I can't move forward. Um, because that's the purpose now, I guess. Which is weird. I don't know how to explain it, but like the past few years, it's like I've been outside of my life, if that makes sense. Like time is still moving, but the point isn't living here, if that makes sense. Like in the rat race, the day to day, like point A to point B. It's weird because it's like I check I checked off enough of the boxes where it's like this period of reframing and restructuring and figuring things out. I kind of feel like some people go through that like during their teen years, but then to me that seems like such a high risk time because it's harder to recover. Not to say that it can't be done, but like say if you're going out and partying as a high schooler and then you don't finish school, then you have to upgrade, and so instead of things being provided for you, you have to pay for it out of pocket, and then accessing things like funding. Like sometimes when you're removed, it makes jumping back in 10 times harder. Kind of like double dutch, I guess. Or even when you think about economics, like the best time to invest was yesterday. Not literally yesterday, but like, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. But yeah, I think the main thing with this is I'm trying to turn not this into like something like, oh, I want to go viral. In fact, that's quite the opposite. I am doing this because I had a vision of sorts for an art series, and it's been stuck in my head for a long time. Like I have these images, but I haven't understood how to manifest it into this reality. So I'm gonna document the process, I guess. I kind of wanna. I'm a really big music person, but unfortunately, YouTube with copyright and whatnot. But yeah, also, wait, I guess it's one of these things where I gotta invest in myself, but there's some things that I need to get. My printer broke down, so I need to get a new printer. Um, yeah, I need to get a new printer because I have this vision and I have this concept, and I don't want to say it because I don't want anybody to take it. But even if they take it, would we execute it the same way? And there's nothing new under the sun. So what if it's already been done? But I see the imagery. I just need to get it out there. But yeah, but I'm excited. I'm excited for this. But yeah, the the art piece is gonna be, or the art series. The title to me has biblical undertones, but I don't know if the imagery. I mean, some of it works. It's it's going to encompass like the past few years, like a lot of the trauma, because I need to get that out. But there's just a lot of things unresolved, you know. And it's almost like I need to get it out of my system because it's a safety net, but not in a good way. I don't know. So I need to do that. And I'm kind of, Excited. I don't know how to explain this feeling. You know that feeling when you're on the phone with somebody, you don't really want to hang up because you feel like there's still more to say, even though you have nothing to say, and you're just rambling. And it's like, is it because you enjoy sharing the same place with the space with the person, or is it because you don't want to feel alone? I guess I don't know. Even though there's literally no one here, but the talking. Yeah, yeah. But just miss. I think I'll just move on to the next thing instead of staying here. But yeah, if you see random things mixed in with the Bible study, just know that that's it. Oh, and I'm also really fascinated by the Ethiopian Bible. I'm hearing some interesting things. Like I don't know if it's true because I think they said that the Ethiopian Bible is written in Ge'ez or something. So I don't know. And sometimes you hear stories from the Bible, and it's like I'm literally reading this. Where are you getting? Where are you getting all of this? Like I didn't I didn't read that. I did not read that. But maybe they know something that I don't know. Again, I'm rereading Genesis. So yeah. I want to get through the whole Bible. I don't understand how people do it because I hear all those fantastical, super descriptive and vivid stories, and I'm like, yes, I want to read that, and it's not that at all. It is not that at all. And I meet people who are like, yeah, I read it 3 times, or oh, I read it once a year, and they're actually serious. How do you do that? But yeah, okay. Well,